Founded in 2014, the Extraordinary Achievers' vision is to empower others to be the best version of themselves. The show is hosted by Chief Lady Waynette Peters, a multi-entrepreneur, empowerment speaker, confidence mentor, positive lifestyle coach, humanitarian ambassador, and a TV host. Lady Waynette is a holder of over 35 international awards for her humanitarian, philanthropic, and international empowerment contributions and holds 2 chieftaincy titles. Welcome to the Extraordinary Achievers Show.
Welcome to another episode of the Extraordinary Achievers Show. We welcome you back onto the show, and if this is the first time that you're joining us, welcome, and please do tune in every Wednesday at 8 p.m. To our YouTube viewers, our Twitter viewers, our LinkedIn viewers, our Facebook platform viewers, we air live on over 50 Facebook platforms, and we would like to thank the admins allow us to air live on their pages. We would like to thank our viewers from Meetup and our viewers from our live TV website. We would like to thank you all for joining us, and please do share this program. Friends, family, WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups. We are here to empower each other.
For real-life stories broadcasted live on air, so please subscribe to our newsletter from our website. We will be honored if you could please like and follow our Facebook pages. Stay in touch and tune in by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you for following us on our Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, and TikTok. We are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT. Please do share with others.
Thank you for joining us. The Extraordinary Achievers Show covers topics ranging from mindfulness, awareness, self-development, and empowerment, true stories and community interests and affairs, interviewing industry experts and individuals either that have overcome adversity or share knowledge to that which creates awareness. We work in collaboration and in harmony with other community enhancement organizations. We are joined today by some amazing guests. We have Coach Jarek, a personal and development coach that joins us today. We welcome you today, Coach. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing really well. It's so nice to be with you today, Lady Waynette, and your audience. So thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. And thank you for taking time out. You know, it's about 2 p.m. where you are right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful day here and the sun's shining and things are good.
Fantastic. Thank you. We would like to also welcome 2 surprise guests that we have on the show today. Amazing individuals in our community. We have Dr. Alfred. He is an active researcher, serial entrepreneur, and an educator. Dr. Alfred, we welcome you onto the Extraordinary Achievers Show.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lady Peters. It's actually a beautiful meet to be with you, with the Achievers tonight, and to share and learn from you and the audience. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time out, and thank you for being our surprise guest this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We also have the amazing Dr. Kwanale. Dr. Kwanale has a PhD in social work, and we welcome you onto the show today. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to be here and to meet everyone, and I just look forward to it.
Thank you. And thank you for being our other special guest for this evening as a surprise guest. We thank you so much for taking time out. So today we are asking the questions. Why do people procrastinate? Can it be good to procrastinate? Questions that are going to be answered by Dr. Kwanale. In general, we are asking, how can we overcome procrastination? So let's just start off first by saying a hello to you and thank you for joining us. Let's have your comments and let's hear from them. author and podcaster Norma Ellis says good evening and good evening to you. And Elizabeth Page, hey Han, she says good evening, and the wonderful speakers of tonight, and good evening to you and your amazing self. Heather says good evening to you all. Look forward to another amazing show, and as always, we look forward to your questions. Thank you. Holly says good evening and good evening all. Such a great topic this evening. Isn't it just an amazing topic? The questions we ask ourselves every day. How can we stop procrastinating? And Vicky says, good evening and always an awesome show and always amazing to have you and one of our number one sharers of the Extraordinary Achievers Show. We appreciate you, Vicky. And Mr. Paseta himself, the amazing community advocate, says, good evening to you all and good evening to you. And Mr. Paseta is a champion for the disabled. And Patrick T says, sorry, I'm late. I was procrastinating. You're grounded. I love it. You're on time. You haven't procrastinated today. You are on a real good time. And we would like to thank you for sharing this program, and we welcome you all from all the different platforms. We can't see you all, and we can't see all the numbers coming up on our screens. Be rest assured, there are quite a lot of you, and we'll see all the numbers when we finish this show. In the meantime, please do share to Facebook groups. Please do share to WhatsApp groups. Share. We would like to welcome on our screens Coach Jarek, who is a military veteran, an author, and a loving father who has taken his experiences in leadership and personal development and turned them into a simple, practical framework for change in your life. Coach Jarek's motto is, you want change, you lack time, I can help. He can help. He's got the time. Coach Jarek, thank you so very much for taking time and thank you for being so bubbly. I was on your Instagram page the other day, as your contact details will be coming up in our comment box below. I was on your Instagram page and I was there for ages, just reading through everything, watching every video, and I must say I was motivated, and thank you for that. Coach Jarek, you say wealth is a mindset, not a number. It's not about looking rich, it is about living rich. Please take us through that logic of understanding. Why is it not about looking rich? Why is it about living rich?
Absolutely. So, on our personal search for purpose and happiness, it doesn't come down to the way that you present so much as the way that you live, right? Now, people generally tend to understand concepts like money and concepts like fitness. Unfortunately, I'm pretty familiar with both of those worlds. I've helped people in both of those worlds. And so when I say something like, it's not about looking rich, it's about living rich. Well, why isn't it about looking rich? Well, when you really step back and think about what does that mean? Okay, if I look rich, what exactly does that mean? Well, it means you're focusing on something that really is beyond your control, the way that people see you and perceive you. I might look rich to one person, but to Jeff Bezos, I don't look rich at all, right? You're chasing something that you're never really going to receive. And so I use those concepts when I speak, not really about the money. It's actually really about finding your purpose and finding what's important to you in life. And same thing for wealth. What is it to be wealthy? Well, really, wealth is about being abundant, not just financially. Yeah, financially, sure, but also about your energy and your health. Okay, so I feel very wealthy. There's been times where I felt very wealthy and I was cash rich, and there were times where I was cash poor, but I still felt wealthy because my mindset was well and I felt at my peak in my health. So yeah, when I say it's not about looking rich, it's about living rich, that's exactly what I mean. Live rich with your health, live rich with your lifestyle. But it's not, the money will come, it really will. But that's really not what my message is completely about. And it's a great question. I love that you asked that. Thanks for helping me elaborate on that.
Thank you. I like it so much because there is a huge difference, and I very much understand it that you could have all the money in the world, but mentally, if you're not mentally wealthy and rich in your mind, either you lose it, you misuse it because you don't appreciate it. And like you said, you have to find your purpose first to be fulfilled in life. That's what makes you whole. Coach, there's another question I have for you, which when I was looking at one of your videos, and you mentioned it's not only the quickest way we enjoy the most, what is the longer journey that we should appreciate? And I wanted to ask, how would we apply this to self-discipline?
Absolutely. I remember why I spoke specifically about that. I was on a drive from San Francisco back to my hometown, and I was driving through the desert. And if you know me, you know I hate the desert. And so I'm on this long drive, and the sun's just beating down on my car. And sure, I had AC, but I just wasn't enjoying the drive. And so I cut over to the coast. It added 4 hours to my drive, and as soon as I got to that coast, as soon as I felt that coastal breeze, as soon as I could see the trees, the redwoods, something changed in me and my psyche. And so that's when I talked a little bit about, that journey being, it's not always the quickest way that's the best way. Yes, I added a lot of time to my journey. Interestingly enough, I ended up plotting my next book. So I have my next book. It's almost finished. It'll be done by the end of the year. And I took 4 hours in complete silence and just consumed what was around me. Now, in self-development, development is not an overnight journey. There is no get rich quick. There's no overnight success. It takes time that you put into this. So you need to know where you're heading, and you have to know when you get there. But the important thing is you have to really enjoy the process, and you have to understand there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be difficulties. But if your head's in the right place, again, back to mindset, then the journey is going to be much more enjoyed, and you're far more likely to be successful. So, when I say, the journey isn't necessarily have to be the quickest way, that's exactly what I mean. Don't be in a rush. Just trust the process.
Thank you, Coach. That was amazing. And if you missed the beginning of what Coach Jerick said, then please do watch it on replay on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, or LinkedIn, or on a Meetup, or on our website. Coach, we have a question for you.
Okay.
And the question goes as follows. How do you keep consistency and discipline when you're going through a burnout?
I love that question. Melissa, thank you so much for asking that. That is such an important question. Like I said, change is hard. There will be times where things are difficult. There will be times where you feel like you're getting burnt out. And, the most important thing that I can say is get back to your purpose. And when you're building the foundation for change, and when you're determining your consistent actions, you really have to understand your why. When I talk about purpose, that's exactly what I mean. Your why. Ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Why do I want to accomplish this? Like, what is behind that surface level desire to make a change in my life? And if you can tap into that, if you can tap into the purpose, if you can tap into the why, the reason for achieving what it is that you want to achieve, then the truth is it's going to work itself out. The other thing I'll say, there's a couple different parts to it, because change is dynamic and discipline is dynamic. The other piece would be keep it simple, right? So a lot of the reasons that we become burnt out on something is because it's become so big that we are having a hard time wrapping our heads around it and our minds around it. So one thing that I do teach is called Just 5, and it's a method where it says, you know what, as long as you can take just 5 minutes to focus on what it is that you need to focus on, that's going to help get you where you want to be, then you're in good hands. So be consistent, keep it simple, and just do 5, whether it's just 5 push-ups or just 5 breaths or just 5 sentences. Like I said, I'm writing a book right now. So it's like some days I'm just like, all right, let me just write 5 sentences and I know I'm going to be good. But again, it comes back to that purpose and that reason.
So, in other words, coach, you are saying create a habit for yourself. And when you create a habit, and then you now can be doing more things because you've created that consistency pattern in yourself. Thank you, coach. We are now going to read some of your comments. And Joanna, the fitness instructor, the amazing fitness instructor, the amazing chef, the amazing baker, amazing woman says, know where you're going and definitely know where when you get there. Know where you're going and you'll definitely know when you get there. Don't rush on your journey. Just enjoy the process. And she was answering also to the question coming from Melissa. Thank you. And Banky says, good evening. And to the amazing guest, she says, good evening too. And thank you. Good evening to you. Doc Mtoko, I love you. And I was waiting for you to say something, so I knew you were there, so I could mention you. She says, good PM. A lesson for today. You can't keep a good woman down no matter what you try. I love this, doctor. This is my good community woman. And I just want to say to Doc, thank you so very much. Because today you were amazing and you helped me in the 12th hour. And you're just super amazing. And I just want to say thank you so very much to you. And I'd like to say thank you so very much to the lecturer, Tawela, as well, from Sound Mind. You are amazing women, and I truly love you. Thank you. Melissa says, good evening. Good evening to you, hon. And thank you, Coach Jarek, for answering her question. Thank you. We are now going to welcome Dr. Alfred. Dr. Alfred is an active researcher, a serial entrepreneur, and an educator. Dr. Alfred has over 10 years combined experience in practical entrepreneurship, teaching, training, and helping to develop course contents on entrepreneurship. He's an amazing man. He is a leader. He has a strategy across different universities in the UK, including but not limited to the University of West London, Roehampton University, and Arden University. He is the current program lead for international freshman course at Arden University. He is also a fellow of the Higher Education Academy UK. He has also written several articles on entrepreneurship in a reputable journal. He has also co-founded several companies, including D Victors, a Mentor X Africa, Tina Store, and so on. And today, Dr. Alfred Bette joins us on the Extraordinary Achievers Show. And how excited are we to have you on the show? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much excited. I'm already learning. I'm a student of learning, a student of education. I believe that you cannot know it all. I love hearing from different perspectives. Love the way you present. Love the way you interact with your audience. Thank you. It's just amazing to be here. Thanks.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. And I know that you are wonderful. Thank you so very much. I love your humility and I appreciate that. Doctor, is procrastination caused by stress or is procrastination a personality trait?
Tough questions. And it does make you breathe, right? First of all, I have to have a caveat. The caveat here is we're here to learn, and whatever I'm sharing will be based from your perspectives and experience. And of course, I'm willing to learn from the public and yourself. But then to the question, stress itself, let's look at, we are saying procrastination is caused by stress. Before I say yes or no to that, we have to understand, first of all, what are the components or things that actually causes stress, so that we can link it up perfectly to whether it is or not a variable that would have caused procrastination. So one thing is worry and perfectionism. Somebody's trying to be a perfectionist, or feeling overwhelmed, for example. Those are all causes of stress, right? And or fear and low self-esteem. Now, when you take those components and it then allows you to sort of link it up with procrastination. So when someone procrastinates, which is actually the opposite of perseverance, because perseverance is more never giving up, and procrastination is you haven't even started. So the two P's there. So if you procrastinate, you're procrastinating because maybe you are a perfectionist, or maybe you will just feeling overwhelmed because there's so much to be done, or worry. So in that context, I would say yes, stress can be a factor that can be responsible to make a lot of people like myself sometimes to procrastinate. And I would just want to make a note before maybe this you comment that procrastination is a natural human tendency. It's part of us. We shouldn't be shy of that. So first point is to recognize that this part is a part and parcel of us, and we just have to know how to deal with it, especially if it's standing in our way. We have to find strategies to handle it before it handle us.
Thank you, Doctor. So it is important that we actually deal with the matters that we find stressful. And I agree with you, because when I'm stressed, I can't think straight. And I don't know anyone that thinks straight when, when they're stressed. But when I take a moment away from it, I have my panic button methods that I use. Like I ring my sister and I say to her, okay, I'm really stressed. And depending on the level of stress, I'm either screaming, shouting, or I'm crying. And then when I finish doing that and I put the phone down, I'm perfectly fine. And it's something I used to do with my mum. I used to do that with my mum. And, we would be talking. And then it was my release mechanism of that. Once I talk about it and let it go, and then we talk about it, and then that's it. And sometimes when I want to make a decision, and then I ask her, and then I say, well, maybe she needs to make a decision because I'm thinking too emotionally and in a stressed position right now. And then I'll think about it after. So thank you for your response. We have a question for you.
Good.
Melissa again. Melissa's a student and she wants to learn, just like all of us that have a teachable spirit. And she says, is there such a thing as too much consistency? And if so, what are the dangers behind it? Can we have something systematically done as it should be? 5 o'clock, I wake up. 5:30, I'm having my cup of tea. And then you're doing that every day. Is there any harm in doing so?
I don't think. I think life is about change, and for me, I think we have to sort of come up with two terminologies here. So first, you have to have a vision. Have a clear vision of what you want to be as a person. So that is just what I do. So I know what I was created for. I know my why, and I know exactly what I want to do. Now, but one thing is to have that vision, which is where you actually want to go. Another thing is to have strategies. Strategies are like your roadmaps, things you do to get to that destination. So for example, if you want to go to central London, for example, there are many ways you can go to central London. That's your destination. That's your vision. That's where you want to be. But you can buy kits. You can, if your usual strategy is to use a bike, for example, now sometimes it's possible that you can change to using an Uber, for example. So there's nothing wrong as long as you're getting to that destination. So there's nothing, I don't think there is anything bad in consistently doing something that works, especially if it's getting you the result or the maximal impact that is required of you. Now, but being consistent itself is a whole is a whole job. It's something that is difficult for most people because some will start and get burned out in the process. But yes, to your question again, I would say you can adapt, have a vision, have what you want to do, have a plan. But of course, the strategies you use to get there might change just because change. Just take, for example, the COVID situation. A lot of people were working from home because to achieve the same result. For example, I was lecturing. I've been lecturing for the past since COVID started from home and using Zoom, using all the platforms like Microsoft Software. But we still getting the same result. Instead of moving to the office. So yes, you can adapt your strategy, but make sure that your vision is intact.
Doctor, we thank you for answering that question. And Melissa, we thank you for asking that question. We are going to take some comments and have those comments come up on our screens. Podcaster and author, Norma, she just had a book launch 2 weeks ago. And if you heard about it, I was talking about it for weeks before that because I was so excited to go to a book launch. And then I showed you her book, and it is amazing. I'm still reading, and it has moments that lift you up, that encourage you, and moments that you just think, wow, what an amazing, miraculous woman. Thank you for writing On the Mountaintop. Fear is our biggest enemy, podcaster Norma says. Podcast Norma and author Norma, could you please share a link to your book in the comment box, please? And Empress Joanne, she says, we learn every day. I'm a learner too, Dr. Alfred. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are. And Mr. Samuel Dinsey, my long time, I always say this every week, my friend for over 30 years, because I'm so proud of him, of our friendship. Good evening to you, and good evening to your daughters too. And thank you for your comment. We would like to thank you for joining the Extraordinary Achievers Show. We would like to thank you for sharing. We would like to thank you for taking time out to comment, for taking time out to ask a question. We are all on this learning curve. We are going to welcome Dr. Kwanale Shishane, and she joins us today as our surprise guest. Doctor, thank you so much. Doctor is currently a Master of Social Work lecturer at Brunel University, London, in the United Kingdom. She teaches applied research for health and social care and social work with adults. She has received different fellowships and awards, including the US Fulbright Fellowship, Excellence in Scholarship, and Doctoral Research Award from Clark Atlanta University in the United States of America. Dr. Shishane has research experience as the Envision 2030. Dr. Shishane has collaborated in research projects and presented at conferences locally and internationally. Dr. Shishane's research interests include psychosocial dimensions of health and disease, including COVID-19, our topic for next week about vaccinations. Doctor, we welcome you onto the Extraordinary Achievers Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. And thank you once again for being our surprise guest. Ooh, exciting times, exciting times. Exciting times. Doctor, our first question to you today is, why do people procrastinate?
I think Dr. Alfred had already touched on this around stress being but one of the factors that contributes towards procrastinating, right? So, and the audience had also alluded to fear of failure. And I think for me, one of the things that I have noticed or noted when it comes to procrastination is the lack of motivation, right? The lack of will, I suppose, to do something, the lack of energy, and someone in the audience already mentioned burnout. Sometimes people procrastinate because they overbook themselves. So I tend to say this is like, I suppose, wanting to contribute as much to a point that you take a bit more than you can chew at the time. So overbooking yourself to a point that you're not able to I suppose multitask or meet or do a whole lot of stuff at the same time. Dr. Mbete already referred to perfectionism. So sometimes there are people that procrastinate because they actually work better under pressure, and until they're under that pressure, it's almost as though they won't produce the level of quality that is required, because they are self-aware that they are most effective or most productive when they are working under pressure. So these are just some of the factors associated with procrastinating. But I think for me, the most important one is the lack of will, the lack of motivation.
The lack of will, the lack of motivation. So it's the lack of that wanting, right? It's the lack of, yes, I want this, or I want to complete this, or this needs to get done. It's more of, you have to have that yes inside of you. Thank you, Doc. Doctor, can it be good to procrastinate though?
A sensible response is no. Right? One might think, actually, no, it's never good to procrastinate. But I think with time and experience, and depending on what it is that you're procrastinating. So I'm going to speak of this, I suppose, from a social work or perspective, right? Or for just my own background. So much of my work focuses on mental health and with youth in conflict with the law, as well as with just social work practice. So sometimes you're working with really sensitive cases, with really sensitive data and sensitive information that if you put yourself in a position where you're working on something where you're not fully immersing yourself or applying yourself or being very careful of how you're handling the information that you're working with, you're putting yourself and perhaps other people at risk of information almost ending up in the hands of people that shouldn't have them. So there are certain exceptions or certain situations where actually procrastinating can help you to breed focus, right? Where procrastination can also help you to get yourself to a point where you are in the mental headspace to be able to immerse yourself with whatever it is that you need to do in order to produce quality work. So I think Coach Jarek mentioned something earlier on around writing, right? So if you commit yourself and say, I'm going to do a page a day or 1,000 words a day, but if you are not in the mental headspace to do that, you may wake up the following day and say, actually, I'm not happy with all of this, and you just delete the whole thing. Whereas if you had actually done things to help you recuperate, done things to help you build that motivation, build yourself up to the writing such that you're most productive, then you could be able to do it once and produce good quality work. So sometimes procrastination, depending on what it is that you're procrastinating, can actually help you. And the other thing is perfectionism is like the enemy of procrastinating. So it helps you get to a point where you work on things and you get them done, and also I suppose be okay with the fact that sometimes things will not be at a particular level, right? So it helps you deal or evaluate your perfectionism.
Doctor, we thank you for answering that question. Doctor, we're going to take time. We're going to move on swiftly and read some comments from our viewers as they come up on our screens. Joanne says, depends on the individual. Knowing my why is key for me. Read anything I'm doing in life. My motto, never put off till tomorrow what may be done today, after tomorrow, just as well. My mom used to say, don't live for tomorrow what you can do today. There is no point in living for tomorrow what can be done today. What can be done today should be done today. And what has to be done today was everything for her. Alison, so nice to see you on the show, and thank you for being amazing. And she says, good evening. So lovely to tune in again, and so lovely to see you on the show. Thank you. And Joanne says, procrastination is the thief of time, and so it is. For me, oh my gosh, the wonderful, talented, amazing voice. Now, if you really want to hear what an amazing voice is, you have to hear this woman singing. She's just amazing, super amazing. She says, good evening and awesome guest. This is so inspiring. And yes, lovely to have you on the show. Thank you. And DG, hey, hun, and says good evening, and to all the listeners too. So he says good evening and thank you for joining us. Stanley MBA, he just got married. Gonna go and get married. He says, awesome, glad to be here. Your photographs of your wedding was so, so, so amazing, and congratulations to you. Thank you for your comments and keep them flowing. Doc, Matoka says, chewable bites, Dr. Shishania, preach. And Joanne says, nothing really good comes out of procrastinating. I would say my point of view. Absolutely, we agree with you. And Norma says, fear of failure and being judged. Bami Collie Roberts says, waiting is a trap. There'll always be reasons to wait. The truth is, there are only two things in life, the reasons and the results. And I'm going to read that again. And reasons simply don't count. Mr. Bami Coley Roberts, you're an amazing man. And I have a lot of respect for you, and I have a lot of value for the work that you do. And I know that you've had to take the belt out on me a few times when I'm procrastinating. So I know it's not something you like. And he says, waiting is a trap. There will always be a reason to wait. The truth is, there are only two things in life, reasons and results. And reasons simply don't count. Amazing. Thank you. Joanne says, procrastinating, you may delay, but time will not. Thank you. We thank you for all your comments. We thank you for your questions. And now we are going back to Coach Jarek. Coach, welcome back onto our screens. And we have a question for you.
All right.
One of your teachings is don't start a habit, start a craving. I love it. Don't start a habit, start a craving. How do we know how to turn that theory into work or business in the development and growth of consistency?
Great question. So there's actually something called the habit loop. All right. And what that is if you want to develop a new routine and start a new routine, then you got to plug into the habit loop. It's something that scientists have studied for quite some time, and they've found it to be true and accurate. The habit loop has three pieces to it. It's got the cue, the routine, and the reward. Okay, so let's just say, for example, you want to get into a fitness routine. Your cue might be to wake up in the morning, right? It might be your alarm when you wake up. It might be right after a meal. That's your cue. That's your nudge to start focusing on that routine. Okay, your routine is the action that's going to support the habit that you're putting into place. Okay, and then the reward is that thing that you probably guessed it. We all love rewards, right? That's your motivation for achieving that. Now that can be something like a snack, a smoothie, or even the intrinsic motivation that you receive. Like if I send my spouse a text, then I know that I'm going to get another one back, and I'm going to feel really good, right? So that can be your reward. When I am talking to somebody about putting a new routine into place, I talk to them about the habit loop quite often, and we define a cue, a routine, and a reward. What that does. And you can really see it in fitness. If I'm doing push-ups every single morning when my alarm goes off, and then after those push-ups, I have a smoothie that I really enjoy, well, after a couple of days, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have a craving for doing push-ups. And, to be honest, I'll often, when I've developed that craving, I'll often do something far beyond, because my mind and my body are working together to build a craving and a habit. So when I talk about build a craving, not just a habit, that's what I mean. I mean, get yourself in that habit loop and develop something real simple, a real simple little cycle. And very soon you will have a craving for that. Your body is going to say, hey, we did this the last couple of days. Let's do it again today. So yeah, the habit loop.
The habit look. Don't have a craving. I love that. Have a craving. When I read that on your social media, and I looked and I thought, oh, what do I crave to do today?
That's a big question.
What should I make my daily craving? I think my daily craving for me is in the morning. I have my ritual in the morning. I wake up and then I give my gratitude for waking up in the morning. And then after I do my gratitude, then I do my meditation, grounding myself. And after I've done my grounding of myself, and then I start thinking, ooh, what's first on my list today? Because that's the last thing I look at before I go to bed. So I think I just need to have another craving that's just like so exciting in the morning, I think, and have that. And I've been thinking about what should be my morning craving that that I should have. Coach, we have a question for you.
Okay.
Heather says, how do you convince, I can tell that the dog out there, he or she's got a question too, right?
Sounds like it. I'm just trying to figure out what she's saying.
I'd be like, I've got a question too. I hear your question. I'll read it out in a minute. Heather says, how do you convince yourself to stop procrastination?
Great question, Heather. I love that. So how do you convince yourself to stop procrastination? It sounds like that's directed specifically to me. I think both of the doctors actually said, some people just simply find a little bit of motivation in such procrastination. And not that we need to back ourselves into a corner, but for some people that does help. And I was actually just talking to a friend of mine last night about this. Why is it? Because, so I had a near-death experience at the beginning of the year. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, my purpose, it's like a fire that I can't put out right now. So like I said, right after that, I wrote a book very quickly, published it. I'm working on my second one. And I was talking to my friend Gus last night about this. And I said, why is it that we are so motivated when we get backed into a corner? What is going on in our psyche? Why is it that we think of, for example, something like a deadline or even the imminence of death that helps provide that force for us to move forward? And, the truth is, if for me, I would say it comes down to what is it that is the reason that this needs to be done? Something that really motivates me is to think about who is impacted by my actions. We're always being watched, okay? Whether we like it or not, like, people see our actions and they're receiving that. And so, and the other thing I would say is when you are serving others, there's a higher force that comes alive within you. My thought is to tap into that. Okay, so if you want to procrastinate on something, think about the eyes on you. Okay, think about the message that you send, and think about the act of service that you are able to provide through performing the action that it is that you have in mind. There's so many different things that come up in our lives that we can procrastinate on. And like I said, generally, if you can trace it back and really think and reflect on who's going to benefit from your action, generally outside of yourself, then that can give you a lot of motivation. Now, I will say this: if it's me that's going to benefit from it, and I can't figure out who else is going to benefit from it, well, then you got to think, okay, if I'm benefiting from taking this action. If I'm benefiting from taking this action, then how are other people benefiting as well from me being at my best? Hopefully that makes sense for you.
That makes a lot of sense. And for those that it didn't make sense to, they can always watch and replay to get it back. I think it made a lot of sense to absolutely all of us. Coach Jarek, we have another question for you from the student Melissa. Melissa says, I love to write, but often experience a writer's block, mostly provoked by procrastination on many. Could it be because that's not my purpose? Is it not her purpose that she can't get to write? Or that's
a really great question, Melissa. Thank you so much for asking that, because I've actually struggled with writer's block too. It took me 10 years to write my first book. Okay, so I knew that was my purpose. My purpose was to write a book. I just hadn't fully tapped into that purpose. Now, I have materials on this on my website to where I've broken it down to a science. Okay, when you say that you're having writer's block, and is it because it's not my purpose? My easy answer would be no. That's not the case. I would say there's a purpose in there. You just have to really figure out what that is. There's a few different questions that I'll ask somebody when we are diving into your purpose. One of those questions is, what roles do you play in life? Okay, and who are the people specifically that are affected by those roles? And so that means, okay, well, if my role as an author, my role is to do better as an author, then my question for you would be, who are the people that are going to grow from your writing? And really really reflect on that and really think about that. The more you define that and how they're going to be better versions of themselves by reading your work, then the more you're going to drill down on, finding that motivation. There's a few more steps that I'm not getting into right now, but those are the first few steps right there. It would be, who is it that's impacted by my service? And another thing you can ask yourself is, what is it specifically? What is that message I need to give to them in order for them to grow and develop? So I would love to hear about your book, Melissa. So I think Lady Wynette, I think you did mention, like, send a link in the comments. I really am curious to hear what that book is about. And I'd be happy to connect with you. And Melissa, I'd be happy to help you out with that writer's block, because it is something that, like I said, I've experienced. I've also helped other writers break through that.
Absolutely. I will connect the two of you.
Beautiful.
And also your email address, which we will have up on the screen now. Melissa, if you take note of that email address, and if you also visit his website, and we have that coming up on the screen too, and you can see more of his work, and you've got his email address. But I will send you Melissa's email address. We would like to thank you, Coach, and we will be back with you. We are going to sail over to Dr. Alfred. Dr. Alfred, in line with the last comment and the comment before that, we are going to link this question to you. So we just looked at overcoming procrastination. Now, in your view and in your opinion and experience, how does one overcome that anxiety that then causes procrastination?
Thank you very much, Lady. I've been learning, like I've said, it's a show where I'm sharing my perspective on things, but I'm also learning from it, and it's beautiful. First, procrastination is caused by our indecision to decide. That's what it is, really. And so what the step number one is, just do it. Nike, just do it. Don't overly think about it. The academics will say, if you overly think about things, which is paralysis by analysis. So when you think too much about things, sometimes you paralyze the whole idea. So just start, do the most important things first. Or as Brian Tracy will say, I'm sure you're familiar with the author, eat the ugliest frog while starting. Of course, just start. And another thing is to definitely have a plan, and those are the things. You need to have a clear plan of what you really want to do. And in planning, you have to always start, begin with the end in mind. So it's like when you're building a house, for example, you finish the house before you actually start. And then next is to break it down into the foundation. You have to do little things every time. Now, also stop being a jack of all trade. Like I said earlier, one of the causes is when you are overwhelmed. Don't be a jack of all trade. Now, we have to understand that nobody was born to do everything. That's one, when I had that, I was like, thank God. I wasn't born to do everything. I was just born to do certain things and do them very well. And as a result of that, that's why when you called me as a surprise guest, because my vision are very much aligned with things like this. So I always have space and time to commit myself to things like that. So because I know these are the things that I'm born for. So stop being a jack of all trade. Be a meaningful, specific, not a wandering generality. You cannot be everywhere. You have to be known for something. Then understand that you will fail. Because a lot of people don't want to start it because they procrastinate things. Because I remember when I've been lecturing before I wrote my first book, but I never wrote a book, so I was always procrastinating. So because I was afraid to fail, and you will fail, and the truth is you will fail. People will give comments, and then what? We learn, and I always say, and I'm sure you're sure of this. There's nothing like perfection. We strive to improve on ourselves. So practice makes improvement, not really perfections. We are improving on a daily basis. And of course, understand that you will fail, set smart goals, break things down in small steps. let the bigger things. For example, just to round up, when I was doing my PhD, I wrote about 85,000 words plus, and just going back to what the two authors were talking about. Now, just thinking about 85,000 words, not just words, but these are critical words. Every line counts. It as you of. And so, but if you divide, because I did it within 3 years plus, and if you divide that by 365 days a week, that's 77 words a day.
Wow.
Can I do it? Why not? I can just sit there. I can't be just chatting with Lady Peters and just type some stuff on the day. Anyways, thanks.
I love it. But what I took away from all of that was a personal taking from that, which is I'm going to tell my sons that you said I cannot do everything. I cannot be jack of all trades. So I'm no longer cleaning, and I am no longer cooking. And I'm no longer
just don't tell them I told you that, because they're very mad.
Thank you. And Dr. A final question to you today is, how can we develop the art of dedication and commitment?
Difficult thing to do always. Like one thing I always say, back to just the last phrase, is that you are born to do certain things, not everything. So that's why I think for me, what I tend to do with my experience is that I tend to major on major things and minor on minor things. So when I commit myself to do something, I do it because I know it's in line. First of all, it's in line with my vision, my value, and what I was born to do, and which is what a lot of people haven't really discovered. What were you born to do? It's like a car was actually created or innovated, whatever, invented to take you from point A to point B. Every other thing else is just an extra, right? And so you were born to do certain things. Maybe like the Peters, you were born to actually inspire people, inspire your communities, the world. That is what your natural vision. So that is one thing. Then time management, of course. Another thing is you need to manage your time. Now, I always say, don't use your mouth to overload your back, because what happens is when we take too much on, we say yes to everything. Yes, 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 yes. And sometimes we want to really commit, but you only have one energy, very finite, and it's not infinite, and you cannot really sort of do everything and spread yourself. So you tend to not to commit. But if you focus on just the nitty little things and you commit to them, and then life becomes so easy. And also the last thing I would say is begin with the end in mind and assess the benefits before you commit. So if you know exactly that this is what I will benefit personally from it. For example, I was here today, and at the 12th hour, I was told to be here as a surprise guest. I knew that because first, this was my sort of area, and I love sharing to my community. I love impacting people. That's the space I am in. And I knew that if anything, I'm going to learn. I assess the benefits. I was going to learn from people like you, from the audience, and I've taken a lot away just from the show tonight.
Thank you, Doctor. And like you said, on the 12th hour, we said, be a surprise guest. And you said yes. And I was so excited. And thank you so very much. Doctor, please do stay with us as we continue with the last 15 minutes of the show. We would like to thank you at home. We would like to thank you for sharing, for commenting, for all your amazing comments, and for sharing on Facebook, for sharing in WhatsApp groups. We are all learning today. I love learning. I always say, like Dr. Alfred said, there is something so amazing when you find that you have a teachable spirit, because none of us know it all. We all learn in each day. And today I have just learned that to avoid procrastination, I can't do everything. So I'm not cooking, I'm not cleaning, I'm not doing anything. And I'll say, the doctor said, doctor's orders. And over to our comments. And Busola, hey, thank you for joining us. And she says, I've learned a lot tonight. Awesome topic. Great work. And all to the guests, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. And Heather says, thank you for the brilliant answer, Coach Jarek. Yes, it makes sense. And Melissa says, wow, that was an amazing response. Completely motivated. Thank you, Coach. And remember, Coach wants to hook up with you. Send him an email. And he is one of the best of the best. We thank you for your comments. And Ola Uluwa, Hey, how are you doing? Long time no see. Welcome back on the show. She says, thank you for sharing. It's interesting. And thank you for being on the show. And Afumi says, you have just hit the nail on the head. LOL, time management and the things that are in the lane or path of what you do. I agree with you. And Mutoko, my own personal dark, says, Dr. Shishane, what might be the chain effect of this procrastination by professionals? Dr. Shishane, this is a question for you. What might be the chain effect of this procrastination by professionals? So if professionals start to procrastinate, then hey, what happens to us?
I think the most important thing, as opposed to just take a step back when we think of procrastination, right? Of course, there is the generally commonly known, understood, or the dictionary definition of procrastination, but there is also I suppose, the subjective conceptual meaning behind procrastinating. And I'll make an example of this, right? So, for example, you've got a task you have to do, and you have to get it, and you have set yourself, right, to do it at 1 p.m. So, say it's writing, for example. Somebody had a question around writing, and you've just come out of a really hectic meeting, and you feel like your head is all over the show, and you're not able to apply yourself and be in the mental headspace where you are able to write. And you say, actually, I'm going to put off writing for just this 1 hour. But in that 1 hour, you're not just sitting or doing things that are not going to help build that craving, like Coach Jarek said before. You are in that 1 hour doing things that will help build that motivation, that will help build that craving, that will help build that motivation, such that by 2 p.m., when you do start writing, you are actually in that mental headspace. So I just want to kind of clarify that process and how we define, I suppose, subjectively what procrastinating means for us and what we do in that process. So to respond to Mtogo's question, the effect of, and one of the things that we have to consider when you are thinking of procrastinating, especially as people working in, for some of us that do, when you work in a multidisciplinary team, right, you have to think about what could be the effect of, what are the consequences of procrastinating, what impact is it going to have, and who is going to be impacted by my procrastinating, because that really serves as a quick reality check where you recognize that actually by you procrastinating, you're not only halting the process of you progressing, but an entire team of people that are relying on you to actually come together. So it's very important to recognize how my individual procrastination could have a ripple effect in terms of affecting the progress of other people that are relying on me to actually meet a particular task at a certain deadline. So it's being conscious and thinking carefully about what are the consequences of my procrastination and who is going to be affected by my procrastination, and also thinking of the depth of the impact of that procrastination.
Dr. How so very well said. I nearly forgot that I was actually being the host of today's show. I thought I was sitting there as a student. I'm like, where do I take notes? So that was amazing. Thank you so very much. That's amazing. Thank you. We are going to go back to Coach Jarek, and we have 3 very quick questions for him, and he is going to give us a snapshot answer to them and tell us about it. Coach, how is success defined, and how do we work towards achieving that a successful business, career, or relationship? First of all, how do we define success?
Well, that's a very personal thing, isn't it? There's a success that society wants us to follow, right? So that's the fancy house, fancy car, high level position in a corporation or whatever have you. But that's not success if it doesn't make you happy. So when I say that's a very personal thing, it's because it's very important for you to determine what success looks like in your life. And I do have a model. I do have an approach for this that I'll delve into. I think with as we continue to talk. and that is to determine what your values are. And one thing that I say is to explore your shell. Don't just break out of it, explore it. And shell is an acronym. It's spirit, health, earn and learn, leisure, and love. Now, if you rate those areas of life, then that will get you closer to understanding what success looks like to you. Because when you put a rating on those areas, for example, my health, if I rate that on a scale of 1 to 10, for example, and I rate it as a 6, well, that's going to give me a clear indication that I might not be successful in my health at this moment. Okay. And so there's further steps that we go into, but when you ask the question of what is success, it is a very personal thing that you have to explore on your own. And one thing I will say about success is something I've already alluded to. It's all about who you serve. It's never about you.
Wow. That wasn't anything. I was looking like, okay. I'm listening. Thank you, Coach. That was powerful.
Thank you.
That was powerful. That was absolutely powerful. There was a question there, and that leaving one with that question. Yes. Who do you serve? Coach Jerry, what advice would you give to an individual that is feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and simply confused of the next step? What advice would you give to them? What should they do?
Great question. Those are the people that I deal with a lot. Okay, those are my clients. Those are the teams, in leadership that I talk to when I do presentations. So that is something that I spend most of my time talking about. Is I am stuck. This is a client speaking to me. I'm feeling stuck and I don't know where to go. Well, what you need is clarity. Okay. And again, what you need is to explore your shell and understand what's important in your life. And once you have a clearer understanding of what's important in your life and the different areas of life, then you're going to start to get out of that stuck zone. Something I'll say, keep it pretty simple, especially at first. Keep it simple. Build the habit, build the craving. And the other thing that I do want to say about that, when you say something along the lines of I'm stuck or I'm confused, is there are different areas of life. You are not, you're going to feel just confused in general. But the more you explore the specific areas of your life, the less confusion you're going to have. Okay, so that's why I talk about breaking out of that shell and exploring that shell, is because, if you're feeling confused, a lot of the reason is because there's something missing, whether it's with your spirit purpose, whether it's with your health, your energy, whether it's with your earning or learning, whether it's you're not having fun in life, so your leisure, or your love, your social life. Okay, so explore those different areas, and you will, as you explore them, you will start to feel better. You'll start to get feeling a little bit unstuck because you're getting clarity on what's going on in your life.
Then you start getting clarity in what's going on in your life. Coach, in general, as a coach, what words of guidance and strategy do you offer our audience today?
Let me keep this one really, really quick and concise for you. Keep it simple. Okay? Have your eye on the prize. Keep it simple. And that's probably the most important thing I can say, is really keep it simple. Change we overthink change a lot of the time. We overthink growth and development. Mm-hmm. The more simple you keep it, the better off you are. And that's why, all of my work is very, very simple stuff. My worksheets that I give away, my book, it's not that many words, frankly, right? Keep it simple and you will make it happen.
Keep it simple. And that goes with the saying, what's not broken, don't try and fix it. So keep it simple so that you're not fixing that which is not broken. Coach, you're absolutely amazing. And I could listen to you from morning to night.
Thank you so much. You're a sweetheart. I really appreciate you.
If you're not following Coach Jerry, he's on Facebook. He is on Instagram, he is on LinkedIn, and his contacts will be in the box below. But however, please just look him up. He's everywhere. But mainly Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you, Coach. We are going to read some comments in a minute, but in the meantime, I have something to say. You know, I've always been a chatterbox. I've always got something to say, really. Well, it is said that people often procrastinate because they are afraid. Fear makes people procrastinate at failing at the tasks, which is what the doctors and the panel were talking about earlier. This fear of failing can promote procrastination in various ways, such as causing people to avoid finishing a task or by causing them to avoid getting started in the very first place. Overall, we procrastinate because our self-control and motivation, which we might be hindered by factors such as exhaustion and the rewards that what am I going to get out of it? As Coach Jerick said, who are you serving? And maybe it might be like way, way ahead and you're thinking, but I'm never going to get the results at the moment. And then you're demotivated and anxiety and fear sets in. How do you fix or overcome procrastination? We fill a day with low priority tasks, and Coach Jerick said 5 things a day. And so did the doctors. They said do something and do something consistently and create that routine for yourself. And as Coach Jerick said, make it a craving. Create a to-do list and dissect an action to create and plan in stages on how you intend to complete the task. I suggest some other simple steps as diary entries, allowing you to manage your time better. I have a physical diary, and people often laugh at me to say, in this decade, you're still using a physical diary. But I need it. I need it because I am a visual individual. And so when I write it down in my diary, it becomes in my mind, embedded in my mind, because I see it and I've processed it mentally. And that's how I remember things. If I don't write anything down, I hardly remember it. Not even typing, I have to write it. That's just my way, and that I've developed in remembering what I need to do. I plan a task list. In other words, I have a to-do list, and then on my to-do list, I have a delivery time. So I have my delivery times, and then I have dates to check when something needs to be delivered in a week, in a month, in 3 months, and then I can scale myself in how I'm getting on. And I know the Excel spreadsheets and there are ways of doing it online, but I love my manualness. And that is how I carry on. I work best when I stick to my daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly task list. It allows me to prioritize better, and it allows me to complete my tasks and my structure. Individuals like Coach Jerick, this is what they do to assist you in your day-to-day routine. So please do get in touch with Coach Jerick, because this is his area of expertise, and he can work out something with you for you. We are going to look at some comments as they're coming in. And once again, thank you for watching. Angie says, thanks everyone, appreciate it. And thank you for being on the show. Thank you. And we would like to thank you all for all your comments. And Joanne says, help a spirit. Absolutely, absolutely. We thank you so much for all the comments, for sharing and being part of this program. Fumi G says, that's my what have always said. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. She's agreeing. Keep it simple. Nama says it's also about not believing in oneself enough. We thank you for all the comments. And Patrick T says, he says, my dress and my color combo is incredible. Well, this is a belt to my dress, actually. And I know he knows that I do that a lot with my dresses. Thank you so very much for watching. We would like to take time to say to psychologist Towela Ngambi and lecturer in social work Mutoko Samson, thank you for being so amazing, and today for being there for me when I needed you. I'd like to say thank you so very much. You're amazing individuals, and today was a typical lesson of remembering why we need to live good with others. And thank you. I cannot thank you enough. I would also like to thank the team at the Extraordinary Achievers Show. I would like to thank the administration team who do amazing work, headed by Mel. And I'd like to thank my sister Heather, who is our quality control for the show. I'd like to thank my son King Darren, who is the head of media, my son Prince Jordan, who is part of the media team, and of course my personal media assistant and my all-rounder Aideen, who does some amazing work. I'd like to thank you. I'd also like to thank the media team that also look after the website. They look after the marketing material. I'd like to say thank you to them. And thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being part of the show. And we would like to bring back our guests back onto the show. We would like to say, doctors and coach, how amazing is it to have had you on the show today? You have been amazing. Our surprise guests, what an awesome, amazing job that you did today. Thank you so, so very much. We have put your contact details in the comment box, and they've also come up on the screen as we were hearing the information that you had to share with us. I'd like to say thank you so much, Coach Jerick, a personal development coach and an all-rounder coach. Dr. Alfred is an active researcher, serial entrepreneur, and educator. Dr. Kwanale is in social work, and she's a lecturer in that field and an expert of many different fields. Health. I even saw somewhere that said, Dr. Kwanale, that you're an expert even on condoms. And it's after 9, so I can't say that. I never knew so.
Sexual and reproductive health, very important.
To be an expert at that. But thank you so very much for joining us. Dr. Alfred, thank you, and good night to you. Dr. Kwanale, thank you, good night to you. And Coach Jerick, thank you so much for bringing all of your amazing personalities onto the show today. And the Extraordinary Achievers Show could never be the same without our audience, our viewers who continue to share throughout the time. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, our website, live TV viewers, thank you for joining us. And please do share, because others can still watch this show on replay. See you next Wednesday. And next Wednesday, we're talking about vaccinations part 2. If you remember, a couple of months ago, we were talking about what do we know about vaccinations, and we were looking at the new vaccinations for the COVID-19. And now we bring the professors, researchers, and scientists back next week so we can learn from them what is new about the vaccinations and all the amazing questions. Wednesday at 8 p.m. And do join us every other Wednesday, 8 p.m. We would like to thank the universities where these professors come from, researchers and scientists that join us, and of course, all the coaches and industry experts. I told you I was a chatterbox. I said all that without even taking a breath. Good night from me.
Thank you for watching. You can now follow us on Facebook and subscribe our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and comment.